there's been companies that have been successful in just providing people with access. So it's great that people have access to those things. It's how do you sort of guide people through, not just say, there's the watering hole there, go and drink. And that was the light bulb moment. It's like, hang on, this is a trick. I've lost about 20 kilos over the last 6 months or so. There's always a trainer who can sort of take you from whatever level you're at. It's completely non-judgmental and like you're all there to achieve something. Damn it, why didn't I do that? But you know, at the time you're like, there's competing priorities. There's so much going on. I need to make sure that that part is solved. During those periods of consistency, you're sort of achieving so much more. Like your mind is fresher, and I think that flows through into everything you do.
Joined in the studio today by, I'd say, a good friend at this point, because we survived the lockdown together. We went for a nice walk, and
did some boxing.
Yeah, did some boxing. I also think, at your house.
Yeah, in the garage.
Yeah, and at this point, I would say, I think you were probably the first client to sign up that had no connection to the gym at all previously. So like we hadn't met before, you had just seen the gym. I think you walked past it, and then you inquired, and we eventually got you there. I obviously knew about your company.
I think on LinkedIn as well. I think I saw you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, please introduce yourself and like your company and what you've done and bits about your career, and I'll ask some follow-ups.
Yeah, so I'm John Winters. I am the CEO and co-founder of an online share trading platform called Superhero. We've got a superannuation fund as well. So the world of financial services, that's really sort of my background. Today, these days I'm wearing jeans and t-shirt to work, but previously regulated companies, regulated businesses, suit and tie, and really sort of grew a good knowledge in that industry, and then took it to the world of fintech. How do you sort of streamline and build something that is digital first in a world where there's a lot of legacy?
It's funny because like a lot of the era that you've stepped into, I feel like it only happens once kind of thing, where you're kind of bridging the technology gap that's in, or opening up technology to just the average consumer, like the retail investor is what they call it. So I guess obviously like Uber did it, that sort of thing, and now you're doing it here. Do you feel like this opportunity was like a once in a lifetime kind of thing here before? Because now that there's a superhero, it's very hard for another superhero to enter the market, right? Especially in the technology space.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's technology is great for access, but you could relate it to a whole bunch of industries. You could relate it to your industry as well. There's been companies that have been successful in just providing people with access. So if you think about share trading, you can have, ComSec is the big gorilla in the market. They've provided access, but it's like, what do people then do? You've got 2,500 shares in Australia. You've got 10,000 in the US. What do you invest in? So it's that access is one. It's that first step to open the door. It's how do you sort of guide people through that journey? Yeah. And I think it's probably the same with you guys. There's gyms you can go and join. It's like open 24/7, come on in and do some weights. And it's like, that's the access. So it's great that people have access to those things. It's how do you sort of guide people through? How do you sort of lead people? Not just say, there's the watering hole there, go and drink. It's like actually helping them through that process. So that's what we're trying to achieve. And I think that's what really sets us apart. It's that contextual education. It's all of the sort of the pieces that come together to facilitate the service that we offer.
So what made you want to make that transition? Because obviously, so what specifically would you say you were in before you did Superhero?
Yeah, so I was in, the crudest term is I was a stockbroker.
Okay.
So I was advising, particularly high net worth individuals on where they should invest. Really, they're self-managed super funds. Okay. So they had a pot of cash. Where should they invest it? And it was, going through various companies. I was fortunate to lead the IPO of one of the successful buy now pay later companies, Zip. Yep. They had a huge amount of staff coming on, as they had even more customers coming on. Yeah. And their staff wanted to be invested in the business, so they were coming to me saying, "Hey, can I buy some shares? I don't have a huge amount of money. Okay. What can I do? Can I use my super?" And that was the light bulb moment. How do we get people into the things they want to invest in using their super, which has always been that thing that's so far away. It's 10.5% of your salary. It feels like it's a tax more than it's actually a savings plan. How do we give people access and transparency to that? So that's where Superhero started. That was the light bulb moment. So we set out to build a platform that gives you access, but within that regulated environment.
Yeah.
And that's where technology came in.
Yeah.
That the entire landscape is just legacy tech, and you can see some of the big guys are trying to replace all of that at the moment, and they're trialing things, they're failing. Some of them are successful in sort of biting off little pieces.
Yeah.
We came in and it took us 3.5 years before we went live.
Right.
But yeah, that was the light bulb moment. How do we give people that access?
I didn't know that piece of the story. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So what did you you hadn't run any companies previous to Superhero?
I had, I'd run smaller businesses, but I guess my role as a stockbroker, it was almost like my own business. I had my own clients.
Yeah,
It was I guess that sort of entrepreneurial
But you didn't have like
industry.
You didn't have teams of people around.
No. So this is the first team of people that I've run.
Yeah. So how was that transition in terms of your lifestyle, in terms of the stress? Like, was it what you expected? Was it more than you expected?
We've been really fortunate. We've hired a great team of people. The challenge is when you have a difficult situation you've got to deal with, and people don't like confrontation. I don't. It's hard to deal with an issue when it comes to people. But the personalities of the people in the team are fantastic. We had our Christmas party the other day. The boat didn't turn up. Yeah. We ended up back at the office, and we just had a party at the office, and everyone was getting along. It was fantastic. So it's almost like a really great group of friends that are working together.
Yeah.
And what's that saying? If work doesn't feel like work, you
never. When you enjoy work so much, doesn't feel like you're working down your life or something. Yeah.
So that's how the office feels.
Interesting.
Which is I'm incredibly proud of that.
That's awesome. And I know obviously there was, and we'll get to this maybe later, but there was a lot of ups and downs, especially through the pandemic for you guys as well, with things changing. But walk me through, now that we're kind of back to normal life and there's not lockdowns, and I'm not sure what your work from home policy is, but what's a typical day look like for you at the moment?
Yeah, for me, so during the pandemic, my wife said to me, we had the kids at home. She said, if you're going to be at home and not help with the kids, just go to the office. I was like, hang on, this is a trick. She's trying to catch me out here.
Yeah. Three kids.
3 kids.
Yeah.
So I actually came to the office every day. And we were in financial services, which was an essential service. So we were allowed to come in. So there was a small group of people who were coming in. Typical day now, it hasn't really changed. I'm in, pretty much every day. Yeah. The team is, we've got most of the team in pretty much all of the day, all of the week. But yeah, for me, it's sort of up in the morning, kids off to school, heading into the city, trying to get into the gym. Yep. But yeah, straight into work, and it's really, for me, it's obviously feel way better when I do go to the gym. The mornings are the time for that. For me, later in the day, I find is a lot harder.
Why do you think so? Just energy levels down?
Yeah, I think it's like you've done this whole day. You're finishing work at 6 or 7. Yeah. To then sort of switch over, and it's then kids and bed and bath and you sort of back on the tools for work as well in the evenings. So yeah, it's a lot easier for me in the morning. Yeah. It's just the getting there.
I know, because most of your days pretty, I guess in the tech world as well, it's can be quite unstructured, right? A lot of random meetings, things pop up, that sort of thing. So it's unpredictable. But how much would you say that when you are integrating regular training in, it creates some structure around your day? Do you find it helps from that perspective?
Absolutely, it does. And once you sort of start getting the number of days up, it becomes a better sort of way to start the day. Yeah. And you sort of get to the point where you feel like you've missed something massively for the day if I don't come.
When it's in regular.
So it's for me, it's almost like all or nothing. Yeah. If I'm not in 5 days a week, if I come in 4, I'm like, I missed that day. And you don't feel as good. Yeah. Just your body doesn't feel as good. Yeah. Pretty much walking around aching the rest of the time.
Is
But
what
that's
you
a good
like.
that's a good thing.
Yeah. So I think you're a bit of an interesting case in that I feel like when we first met, and even before that, when I spoke to you, health is actually quite a high priority for you.
Yeah.
But because of the nature of tech startups, it is very, very difficult to like put it into the schedule. And you've done, I think, pretty well up until this point to get it in. But there has been a few fluctuations where periods where you've gone missing because of understandable reasons, selling the business, like opening up in different time zones, that sort of stuff. And your weight's fluctuated, but it's always stayed at the top of your mind, as in like, I do want to still get in. Whereas like most people in your situation, I find that if their weight would fluctuate a bit, or if they would lose some consistency, that's it, they're done, they quit, right? But what do you think it is that's like kept fitness and health as a priority for you, as opposed to like, you know what, the weight's come back on, I just give up and I'll come back?
Yeah, I think when we started, I was overweight. I was worried, I'm sort of late 30s, I'm going to have a heart attack at some point.
That's what you were thinking?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Like, I've got 3 kids, I've got a business, there's so much going on, I need to make sure that part is solved, because otherwise the rest all falls over.
Was there anyone that's had a heart attack near you or anything that made you think like that, or you just felt...
I just, you hear stories about people, younger people who, who have situations like that.
Yeah.
And it either impacts them for the rest of their life, or or they drop dead.
Yeah.
I don't want to be one of those people.
Yeah,
so,
not,
I think the thing that keeps sort of driving me back is probably the structure of, how you have set up the gym. It's sort of like, you're in for a year.
Yeah.
So it's there, and it's kind of, burning a spot in your brain that you're like, I know it's there. I know I'm paying for it as well.
Yeah.
And, I need to use it. And I know that I'm not doing anything about my health as well. So there's like those few driving factors.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember you mentioning that part of the model once was like you thought was quite good. It kind of knows you're committed. And I think that it has been like, obviously you noted the insights, that's how your mind thinks. But in the background, we've talked about it a lot as well. Because, people were like, I've been here for a year, can I go month to month? And it's like, it's the psychology of the commitment more than it is the money. I know obviously it's paid up front, but
absolutely. But I think also, if it's just one of the other gyms where you walk in and you jump on the treadmill and pick up some weights, there's so much more psychological motivation you need to give yourself to do that. Because you walk in and you're like, I haven't been here for 3 months, and what am I doing? And there's some big muscly guy there, lifting 50 kilo dumbbells, and you're like, holy shit, and you like kind of feel inferior, and like it can be quite, can have an impact on you.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you guys are always there. There's always someone at the gym, but there's always a trainer who can sort of take you from whatever level you're at.
Yeah.
So there was a period of time, I think it was like 6 months, that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So my ability to lift heavier weights dropped, but everything was tailored back to me. So to start again was really easy.
Yeah.
From a psychological point of view.
Yeah.
Like it was obviously...
It didn't feel like a massive barrier to get back into it.
Yeah.
And do you think it also helps that there are, like the environment that you're in, there are a lot of people that are like you in terms of, from a health and fitness perspective, but also at an executive perspective, there's like kind of it's not necessarily said, but it's just a mutual understanding that like, hey, we're kind of all really busy and on this level and trying to prioritize.
And I think it's also good to see that there's people at sort of all different levels as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just bodybuilders.
And there's zero bodybuilders, right?
Well, there's a couple of fit-looking girls and guys there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's people who have the same sort of body structure as me.
Yeah.
People who are sort of coming up, and you sort of, it's completely non-judgmental, and like you're all there to achieve something, and you're all doing your own individual things, but you're all doing it together.
Yeah.
So it all works really well.
Yeah, that's cool. You're obviously still quite young, but and
thank you.
Yeah, maybe the question doesn't have as much context, but if you were to kind of go back in 5-year chunks, is there anything that through the lens of health and fitness that like you regret, maybe you wish you'd started sooner or put in place sooner, that you're like, man, if I was just more like this earlier, I think it would have helped me in my career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from career and from fitness and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I was doing 1,000 setups a day for the last 6 months, I'd have a six pack right now.
Yeah.
Damn it, why didn't I do that? But at the time you're like, oh yeah, I've got work, or there's competing priorities, and that just take over things. But yeah, absolutely.
I think like more reflecting on it now is like you always have competing priorities, right?
Yeah.
There's always that feeling of like, oh, when I do this, I'll start training, or when I do this, I'll start eating better, or when this happens, I'll start doing this. But there's always that next thing, right?
Yeah.
And so unless you, I don't know, retire completely and live in the Bahamas, like there's always something that's going to take you time, so you have to fit it in, right? You have to make it work. Thinking about the last sort of, I guess, 2 to 3 years, and then looking forward to the next 2 to 3 years, would you change anything at the moment that you feel like would make a big difference in terms of like what you've learned from us, or like what you've just kind of learned about yourself in terms of making things successful, that you've been like, if I can continue to do this, this actually worked really well for me? Anything like that?
Well, I think from fitness point of view, I think it's just consistency.
Yeah.
Like I think it's just a matter of just being consistent over a longer period of time. I think I've been really consistent for really short periods of time.
Yeah.
So it has been sort of an up and down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like during those periods of consistency, so much more, you're sort of achieving so much more. Like your mind is fresher.
Right.
You feel better, and I think that flows through into everything you do.
Yeah. But anything you can think of, like in terms of, I know when there's always someone following me up. Like I work well with accountability, or like I even remember one of the things you told me was like, I love when I just have like a calorie target for the day, and just like the certain meals, and it's like very clear and very easy. I just like that. Like
I think it's just setting out. It's just when you're sort of consistent with things, you're organized, and then you just sort of you're ticking boxes. Like you're just ticking things off, and it's when that inconsistency comes in is when you do start to get it sort of all falls apart.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you it's half kind of brought him on. You brought Wayne, your co-founder, who's a great client as well. It does have a higher attendance than you at the moment, so it's not a competition.
I'd just like to point out he consistently does miss leg days. You might want to chat to him about that. Yeah. Sorry, Wayne.
Yeah, we'll just say,
throw you in the deep end.
We'll just say, it's actually upper body today, and then switch it on him last minute.
Yeah.
How have you found, like, obviously you two are like the founders of the business and part of the culture and stuff. Have you noticed a difference, like both of you kind of having a commitment to fitness together, same gym? Like, does that make a difference? Because there are a lot of business owners at the gym that have business partners, and one works out and one is completely the opposite. Yeah. Like getting some alignment there, do you find was helpful?
Yeah, I think so. I think from the team point of view in the office, seeing me walk in my gym gear, like everyone's sort of gone, you went to the gym. Like it's actually been like quite good for everyone.
That's awesome.
And there's like running club at work. There are a couple of things. I don't think I've ever been to running club with them, but there's a couple of things that they do. But yeah, I think having an extra sort of reason to go to the gym. Yeah. Like Wayne's coming now, and it's interesting. Wayne and I sit next to each other at work. We're great mates outside of work. Our wives have been friends for years as well. Our kids are all like cousins. Like we're good family friends as well. So we do spend a lot of time together. But yeah, I think going to the gym, it's that extra bit of motivation. Yeah. Or if I know that he's gone 3 times this week, I'm like, I need to definitely be there 3 times, if not 4. Yeah.
I think there's like you're kind of alluding to, like, there's like a partnership between you, and like you want the best for the other person, right? And so it's like, if someone's getting unhealthy, fortunately I've never had that concern with Raf, because we're both in the industry, but I would start to think like, come on, like, let's do something here, like let's make it happen. That has definitely been the case for some business partners in the gym, but I think it's just a good message to hear from, like, for all the business owners listening to this anyway. Cool. So we'll ask one final question. Agree or disagree with this statement, and then why or why not? So most business owners or executives will retire not because of a lack of enthusiasm for what they do, but from a lack of health. Do you agree or disagree? Or it depends.
As you said, I'm quite young, so I haven't thought about this.
Yeah. But from what you've seen, you've been around people that have retired.
Yeah. Look, I think health concerns are absolutely, as you see, people age, health concerns are absolutely one of the reasons why people do step back from work.
Yeah.
You know, putting you won the lotto or you sold your business
Sure.
and made a truckload of money. You know, I think yeah, probably health concerns would be, you know, one of those key reasons. And yeah, I mean, I'm sort of very mindful of that. Like, you've only got one body, you treat it well.
Yeah.
I can't, you know, my weight's fluctuated and health has fluctuated.
Good now, though.
Yeah.
We're holding steady.
Fitness, yeah. Yeah, so I'd probably agree with that.
Yeah. And knowing what you know, like going into the future, do you have any plans of like retiring, or do you think you're always one of those people that you're just going to keep pushing forward?
I think
and always do something.
Yeah, I can't afford to retire now, but you know, if sort of money wasn't an issue, I think my issue is I'd just get bored. I'd have to do something. So yeah, don't know what I'd do, but yeah, for now, continue with superhero.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
What is the plan for future superhero in the near future?
Yeah, I think we've got a strategy. We're sort of expanding to New Zealand. We've got a big strategy around building out the superannuation fund.
Nice.
So yeah, just growth. We've got some really exciting partnerships coming up as well. So lots happening.
And this actually will be the last question. How much do you think? Because Superhero is quite a public-facing company.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of other businesses at the gym, probably the most well-recognized public-facing company we have. How much does that play into your health and fitness? You know, I'm going to probably be on camera a lot, cover of AFR, all that sort of stuff. Is that always there for you as well?
Yeah, it is. So as you know, I've lost about 20 kilos over the last 6 months or so, which goes to feeling better and and uplifting fitness and everything.
Yeah.
But there's still some photos floating around online where pre-weight loss.
Yeah.
So you sort of look at those and go, geez, need to get them some new photos to use. But yeah, look, it is it is a public-facing company, and there has been sort of a lot of media and stuff on us. So it is something that I do think about when I get in front of the cameras. Yeah, absolutely.
That's good. Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
awesome.
Good to see you.
That was good.
Welcome back.
Okay.
Hair and makeup.
You're never going to get anyone to do anything unless they want to.
And one of the biggest fears I have about being in business, you can take one stupid moment to ruin it all.
Something in me that never wanted to go back to being the fat kid.
I didn't want that. That fear was enough for me to commit to coming to Lockeroom.
Body fat content's gone from almost 30% to about 20%.
I started to enjoy the training.
There's always a trainer who can sort of take you from whatever level you're at.
I'm seeing changes. Resentment has turned to enjoying it.
In order to work really well, you've got to take care of yourself.
Big benefit is I don't have that slump in the afternoon.
And if you do prioritise your health, you will actually see the results in your work.
I'm a big believer, if you can't lead yourself, how are you going to lead other people? How are you going to lead the team if you can't even lead yourself?